Masami Yamada, thank you very much for welcoming us today at the Victoria and Albert Museum, where you've been a curator for the past 3 years. There are different routes to becoming a museum curator. For example, in the US and the UK, often a PhD is a crucial requirement, and in France there is a national competitive exam. What was your route to becoming a museum curator?
So I actually have a quite atypical background, I would say. I studied Western art history at university in Tokyo, but it was here in London where I started getting interested in Japanese art. And eventually I got a job in London-based auction house in the Japanese art department. And this was where I handled thousands of objects over 7 years, mainly from Edo and Meiji periods. A PhD is not a requirement in case of the V&A. Curators at the V&A have deep understanding of material and culture that we work with, and knowledge can be acquired in many different ways. So in my case, I acquired through object handling. But for example, I have a colleague, curator in the Asian department, who used to be a practitioner. She is a trained textile artist, but now works as a curator. And it is really this diversity that makes our work environment dynamic with different ideas and skills.
I feel a lot of the work of the curator remains somewhat invisible. After all, when we come to a museum, usually we don't encounter a curator. So could you tell us about what your work entails?
Our key responsibility is to make the V&A collections engaging and accessible for a wide audience. And we research our objects and we share our research in the form of exhibitions, special displays, lectures, and papers. And digitization of our collection is also a key activity for us.
Are you specialized in a particular area of Japanese art?
Yes, so I am specialized in Edo period decorative arts, particularly in lacquer. I am also specialized in Japanese inro, and I also take care of the netsuke collection. Since I joined the V&A, I've been also researching Japanese contemporary crafts. And in this case here, we have Japanese studio crafts made of different materials. At the moment we have ceramics, glass and metalwork. And all of these work have been made since 2006, so these are relatively new works by both leading artists and fresh new talents.
So how many objects are you looking after at the museum?
The V&A's collection of Japanese art and design is one of the largest and the most significant outside Japan. We have over 48,000 objects in total, and ukiyo-e block prints, some of them are on display here, counting over 25,000 prints.
And at one given time, how many objects are on view in the galleries?
So here in the Toshiba Gallery of Japanese Art, we have about 550 objects on view. And we regularly rotate objects here because some of the objects are extremely delicate and we need to make sure that they do not get too much light exposure. We have other galleries where Japanese objects are featured, and this includes ceramics galleries on the top floor and the British galleries where there is a section dedicated for Japanism.
So we're back in the Asian department of the museum, in the East Asia Library, and I'm very excited because you've kindly prepared a selection of works. Because of course one of the important parts of your role as a curator is to contribute to the building of the collection, and every year a number of pieces enter the museum.
That's right. Shall we take a look at some of our recent acquisitions?
With pleasure. So from now on, we'll be wearing these very glamorous gloves in order to protect the objects. And you have prepared a very interesting selection of glasses. What can you tell us about them?
So we recently acquired this collection of 43 cut glass tumblers made in the 1930s. And for today's filming, I prepared a small selection of the tumblers just to show you a wide range of designs created during this golden age of Japanese cut glass.
It's very interesting because we don't necessarily think about glass as a traditional Japanese craft, even though glass, of course, has been made in Japan for centuries.
So the production of cut glass started in the early 19th century, so relatively late compared to certain types of crafts in Japan.
It looks like there are different types of decoration in the selection you've made.
So the 1930s, when these tumblers were created, was the period when Japanese traditional art and aesthetics interacted with European life and culture. And because of that, the characteristics of these tumblers are colorful designs which show the influence of European Art Deco. And in this small selection, we have 3 different types. On the left-hand side, we have European Art Deco style designs, which are quite rare to find. And in the middle, these are also Art Deco style, but these are Japanese Art Deco. And the last group here, these are more traditional Japanese cut glass designs, so they are often geometric designs, such as this example. And in fact, this collection is such a fantastic addition to the V&A collection because the Japanese artworks from the early 20th century are significantly underrepresented in the museum.
And to finish, Masami, you selected the second group of objects for us, which are laid out on the table here. And this seems quite mysterious. So what can you tell me about it?
This is a seamless copper tea kettle made in gold color by a company called Gyokusendō. Gyokusendō is a 205 years old family-run workshop in Tsubame City in Niigata Prefecture, specialized in hand-hammered tsuki copperware. So we acquired it along with 7 copper samples, which show different stages of the hand-hammering process. And in order to make this seamless kettle here, artisans use dozens of making tools. We acquired 2 most representative tools among them. One is this anvil stake.
That looks very heavy.
Yes, it's very heavy actually. And iron hammer here. And this really makes a comprehensive set for us because introducing making process of our object has always been the V&A's key activity. And this is because V&A was established with a mission to educate designers, manufacturers, and the public in art and design.
Well, Masami, thank you so much for welcoming us today at the V&A and sharing so much insight about what it is to be a curator of Japanese art.
Oh, it was my pleasure. Thank you.